Hi, in this demonstration I'm going to show you how to use the letterpress plates that work in conjunction with TODO. This is really exciting actually because we can use them to push the plates and the design into cotton cardstock, and we can also ink these up to create almost like a stamp effect. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. This is the part where we've left the plates blank and we've just pushed it into a nice thick cardstock. So you can see we've got this beautiful debossed area and then we've got the embossed areas at the back here. So that's a really pretty, soft effect that you can create. Or you can do completely the opposite and you can ink these plates up. I tend to use an archival ink. It doesn't stain the plates, it does come off quite easily afterwards. And this is one that we've done just by inking up the different plates to create, like I said, like a stamped effect almost. But rather than you having to put the pressure on a stamp, the roller on TODO will actually create that even pressure, so you'll get a perfect finish every time. So we're going to start with the soft letterpressing into the cotton cardstock. So first things first, we need to go back to our instruction manual here, and we look at letterpress, and you see that you need plate C and you need plate A, and we want the pressure on the machine between 6 and 8. So I'm going to take my first plate and I'm going to do the two largest sizes first. Now, top tip is to make sure that you do these separately. And the reason for that is because it makes a much deeper impression if you do one first and then the second one as a separate piece. Not because of any kind of positioning really, it's just because it gives more pressure in one area. So just focusing on this plate rather than having the pressure distributed between two different ones. And I just find that it gives a much deeper effect. So again, I'm going to flip that over. I'm actually just going to add my C plate underneath. Now this is the very flexible mat, so that will kind of give the card somewhere to push into. And then I'm also going to use my A plate. Okay, so the one that I would normally use as my cutting mat. Got it on 6.5 just to start, and we're just going to start wheeling the machine over this die. I do just hold the plates in place slightly because this is going to put quite a lot of pressure on here, and then we can just let it go once it hits that plate. Now I can feel that was really quite easy to do. So once I get to the other side, what I'm going to do is just lift this dial and move it down to 6, so it's adding a little bit more pressure onto that machine, and I'm just going to go back over. So I'm not having to take plates apart to see. I can tell by the feel of that it would have taken a little bit more pressure, and that means that we'll get a deeper emboss as well, which is really cool. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm now just going to lift this away, and you can see then when I take this tape off here, just use my scissors because that's what I've got handy, you can see then that we've got a nice embossed finish there. Now what you can also do if you want it even deeper than that is use like a spray. I think there's one called Emboss, and you can spray your card and that will just help it to break down the fibres a little bit. But for what we're doing, that's fine. So I'm now going to add the second size of plate now, and I'm going to position that around the outside of where we've already letterpressed. So back to my magnetic sheet. I would advise you leaving them on magnetic sheets because it keeps them nice and flat. And then just line up the second plate over the top, making sure you're getting it nice and even and central. And then just tape it in place again. We're going to do exactly the same thing, and this is going to create the background for our card. So flip that over. A plate back on top. I'm going to do 6.5 this time, this time, without starting at 6.5 because I know it'll take it through. And we're just going to wheel that across. And just because I want a nice deep impression, you'll feel the machine come off the edge of the letterpress plate, and then you can just wheel it back. And because you've taped it down, it shouldn't move. And that's really easy to turn as well. There's no difficulty in that at all. So whether you sat down or stood up, you'll still be able to complete that technique. And then again, I'm just going to peel this tape off. Now gently on cotton cardstock because it is quite fibrous. So you just want to be gentle taking that tape off, and then we can show you what we have here, like that. So we've finished that piece now, and I want to just show you what else I've done that we're going to then use to complete a card. So I've taken the two smaller plates here, so this one, and done exactly what we've just done before. So we did the smaller one first and then the one on the outside. It doesn't really matter which way around you do it, that just works better for me. So we've done that, and that's what we have got, and that's a really nice deep impression. And again, you can kind of move the pressure up and down depending on the depth of the impression that you want, not too far, but also use the spray emboss, because that does make a difference as well. So you can see we've got that, and now what I'm going to do is I've put my B plate onto TODO, and I'm going to position that in the middle, and we have dies that work alongside the letterpress plates. So what I'm going to do now is line this die up over the top of here and die cut it out all on the same machine, okay? So I'm going to line this up, just take your time getting it into the correct place, and when you're happy with the position, again, just tape it, because it's better to be safe, and get it in the right place first time. And then I'm going to flip that over, and in the middle of my TODO plate, I'm going to position that A plate on top. I don't need to change the dial, I don't think, because it's on 6, but because this is a thicker cardstock, we'll see how we go. And because you're not putting the plates into the machine, the roller is going over the top, you'll be able to feel it better when it hits that die, and you'll also be able to see when it comes out of the other side whether it needs to have an extra cut, and I think I'm quite happy with that. Looks like it's cut beautifully. And in the centre of the plate, you will notice too. So I'm going to move this along. I'm going to remove my plates now and just make sure that this is cut through, which it has. So gently off with the tape, and again just peel this away nice and gently, and then we will have our centerpiece ready to make up our card. So you can see there we've got a really nice deep embossing in there on that small, and then perfectly cut out with the matching die. So we've got all our pieces now that we've done. We've got our base that we did first, we've got our centerpiece, and then I've just done another centerpiece and used a die to cut the tiny bit out of the middle so we can build it up in layers. I've also got 2 of these. Now this is one of the TODO embossing folders, and what I've done is just run it through TODO with using the correct plates for embossing folders, and then I have cut out this area, and this is going to kind of nest behind the actual main part. So we're just going to put that behind there and just glue it down, and I've got 2, so we're going to do 1 on either side. So it's kind of using an embossing folder in a different way to create a frame, which is really rather nice. And this is what happens when you get a machine like TODO that is so versatile in so many different areas. You can then start to really play and become very, very creative with it, just using that one machine rather than going from one to the other. It's just much easier to have one that does everything. So I'm going to just pop glue on here and just put a little bit of pressure on, because it is cotton cardstock, so it is quite absorbent. So you might need to use a little bit more glue than you normally would. I'm actually going to leave these flowers separate so that they can add a little bit more dimension as well. So just start to use your embossing folders in different ways, which is quite cool. So again, this side as well, a little bit on here. And I would absolutely use a wet glue for this rather than a double-sided tape, because what tends to happen is the fibres from the cotton card stick to the tape rather than the tape sticking to the base card, so it can come away. So definitely a wet glue for this, because that will soak in rather than just sitting on top. And you don't need a lot, just a little bit here and there. I don't want it totally flat, I want it to give a little bit of shape. So then we have got that. Okay, so that's the first stage. Now what I'm going to do is add this part into the middle. So what I did was, you saw me cut out this cotton cardstock letterpressed area with a die, And then the next die up is 1/4 of an inch away. So what I did was use the same die, drew around the outside edge of it and just whizzed around it with a pair of scissors, so you get a nice 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So I'm going to stick that into the middle of here, again using wet glue. And you can line this up now because you've got that perfect section that will line up, and these little flowers will just come out over that edge like that. So make sure that that's centralised. This part I'm actually going to use, I've got a foam pad on the back of this, so I'm going to add a little bit of dimension now. So I'm going to just take the backing off that, and again make sure that that is lined up in the correct place like that. And then I also took, these are fabulous, I love these. These are the sentiment letterpress plates, and these either act as a stamped sentiment if you ink the letterpress plate, or as you can see, beautifully debossed into this cardstock. So I'm just going to curl this slightly and position this in the centre of the card. So we've got our sentiment. So just gently curl using your fingers, and then again we can put a little bit of a foam pad. You don't want it too high because we do have to post this out. So we're going to take that off, and this is made from just cardstock and using the letterpress plates and the embossing folders from TODO. So now I've got that, what I want to do, what I've also done is I've taken 2 of the larger sizes of the shaped square dies. I've taken one of the largest one and one of the next one down, and I've cut them in half. One of the halves is going to go behind here, okay, to just create a bit more background. I've left the corners on here as well because it's nice to have that square element as well. So curvy and straight works very well together. So a little bit of glue on here, and I'm just going to place that down onto my work surface, and I'm just going to line that up so that this is centralised. Give it a quick press, turn it round, do exactly the same thing again on the other side, on the opposite side. So again, position that so that that's straight, and then take your card over the top. And you'll be able to see from this one how far down you've lined it up, so make sure that the one at the top is exactly the same. And then I want to do 2 slightly smaller ones, like I said, just the next one down on the sides. Okay, so same again, glue there, like that. Make sure that's straight, and then position that over the top and position it to where it looks right to you, which is about there for me. And then the last piece goes on this side, like that. So then you're left, this is then become your topper. So what I did then was I took 2 of the largest shaped square dies, and I cut them out of card twice, just scored one about an inch down from the top and stuck it to the back. The reason I didn't use the die and kind of fold the card in half and cut it, leaving the edge over the edge of the card so that it made a complete card, was because I didn't have a piece of card big enough. So I cut 2 pieces, scored one, stuck it together. That creates your backing. And now what you can do is line that up to about there and just stick that onto there, because you want a nice card for it to stand up on. And that I found was the best way to do it. And I'm going to do it side opening so it stands a little bit stronger. So we're just going to place that and pick that up, and then just kind of slide that down so it goes into place. And you can see there that that's a perfect fit there on that angle, so that when we then stand it up, it will hold in place. Okay, I just need to nick that little bit off the bottom, but it will stand up better. And then we just need a couple of bows, one on either side, just to finish it off and make it really pretty. So hot glue on the side of there, and hot glue on the other side, and we're done. So that's letterpressing, and I think with TODO you'll find that the letterpress is excellent quality. You know, whether you're using cotton cardstock or whether you're using it with ink, it's even. And if you really struggle with stamping, then could be the answer really for you, because you can either make beautiful cards like that, which are very soft and gentle, or you can go down the ink route and you can use them almost as replacements for your stamps, but also letterpress with it when it's inked to give you that double embossed and ink technique. So I hope you enjoyed that, and that's letterpressing with TODO.